It's been 6 months since Joy was falsely accused by her former boss, Mr. Femi, the same man who tried to take advantage of her, then turned her around and accused her of seduction. That cruel lie cost Joy everything. She was thrown into the streets by the very people she served faithfully. But oh, how the tables have turned. Joy is no longer that homeless maid. Today she owns Joyful Bites, the most talked about restaurant in town. And guess what? She now dines with the president's son himself. But beneath the surface of success, dark secrets still remain buried. Will Mr. Femi finally be exposed? Will Joy find it in her heart to forgive those who betrayed her? This is more than a comeback story. It's a powerful journey of truth, grace, and redemption. And trust me, you'll want to stay till the very end. So before we dive in, don't forget to hit the like button. And if you're new here, subscribe to join us on this unforgettable ride of lessons, love, and second chances. Let's get into it. The morning sun in Surulere rolled across rooftops like melted gold. Streets buzzed with the usual chaos, buses honking, vendors calling. But on Oyekan Street, one shop stood out. Joyful Bites, a clean white sign with hand-painted flowers hung over its wide glass doors. It read, Joyful Bites, homemade goodness, heart-made dreams. Inside, the smell of pepper stew, warm bread, and fried plantain wafted through the air. Stainless steel counters gleamed. Staff in matching aprons moved quickly, taking orders, plating food, cleaning spills. Coordinated, focused, proud. And at the center of it all was Joy Enwoke. She wore a simple black gown under her apron, her natural hair tied into a neat bun. Her voice was calm, yet firm. Her eyes scanned everything. From seasoning levels to customer complaints, nothing escaped her notice. She wasn't a maid anymore. She was a boss now. Make sure the okra isn't watery, she said, tasting a spoonful. And reduce the salt in the egusi. It must taste like home, not hospital food. Yes, ma, the cook replied. At just 24, Joy had turned her pain into purpose. What began as a single tray of jollof rice now fed dozens every morning. She had 2 cooks, 1 cashier, and 3 young girls she was training, not just to cook, but to stand tall. From outside, the crowd only grew. Customers waited patiently with receipts in hand, eager to step inside. A man near the front of the line whispered to his wife, Now the girl way return billionaire wallet be this see as she gets shop now. Joy stepped out briefly to greet customers. Smiles met her. Some clapped, others offered prayers, but she didn't let it get to her head. Her mother's words always rang in her ears. When life lifts you, bend lower, so others can rise too. A small tap on her leg made her look down. Standing there was a little girl in a faded gown, clutching a tray of oranges. Her eyes were wide, uncertain. Joy knelt. You again, she said, recognizing the child she once helped. Right there on the street, holding a luxury wallet she could have kept. The girl nodded. I remember you, Auntie, she said shyly. You helped me that night. Joy smiled. And now it's my turn. She stood and called one of her servers. Give her rice, beans, and dodo, and pure water. No payment. The girl's eyes widened. Really? You deserve it. And if you come early tomorrow, I'll find something for you to help with. Do you go to school? The girl looked down. Not yet. Joy's heart squeezed. Come tomorrow, she said gently. We'll talk. As the girl walked in, eyes still scanning the clean walls like it was a palace, Joy felt her throat tighten. It was like watching her younger self, hungry, scared, unsure of tomorrow. But now she was someone's answer. Later, inside her small office, Joy sat by the window with her mother. Mom Enwoke, now healthier, her cheeks fuller from steady meals and rest. She peeled an orange slowly, watching her daughter move between the kitchen and the counter. My daughter, she said softly, you've turned sorrow into sweetness. Joy smiled, but quietly. She wasn't sure what the next chapter held. She was grateful, but not satisfied. And somewhere deep in her chest, something stirred, like life was about to change again. The next morning arrived with a humid breeze and distant thunderclouds gathering over Lagos. Joy was already inside Joyful Bites by 6:30 a.m., reviewing invoices and restocking peppers when she saw her cashier Ada poke her head through the office door. Auntie Joy, that small girl from yesterday is here, she said. She's standing near the back gate holding her tray. Joy's pen paused mid-stroke. "Bring her in," she said. A few minutes later, the girl stepped into Joy's office timidly, barefoot, her dress still faded and her tray of oranges nearly empty. She stood there, silent. Joy closed her file, walked over, and pulled out a chair. "Sit, my dear." The girl hesitated, eyes scanning the sparkling tiled floor as though unsure she deserved to touch it. "What's your name?" Joy asked softly. "Amaka," the girl replied. "I'm 9 years old." "Do you live with your parents?" She nodded. "In a bachelor, near the canal. Mama sells tomatoes. Papa pushes wheelbarrow." "Do you go to school?" The girl's face dropped. She looked down. "No, Ma, my younger brother is sick. We don't have money." Joy took a slow breath. She looked at the little girl and saw herself again. Silent, afraid, trying to carry burdens no child should bear. "I want to help," she said gently. "Will you like to go to school?" Amaka's eyes lit up, almost afraid to believe it. "Me? Ami?" "Yes, but not just today or tomorrow. I want to make sure you stay in school until you finish. All the way to secondary school. Even university, if you want." Amaka blinked rapidly. "But my papa—" "We'll talk to him," Joy said. "I want to do it the right way." Later that afternoon, Joy made the drive herself to Amaka's home near the canal. The Badger house was small, wooden planks nailed over rusting zinc sheets with torn curtains for doors. The entire room smelled of kerosene and earth. Amaka's mother, a lean woman with tired eyes and tomato-stained hands, emerged wiping her palms on her wrapper. "Good afternoon, Ma," Joy said politely. "I'm the one your daughter met yesterday." The woman looked alarmed. "She no do anything bad, I beg you. She's a good girl." "No," Joy interrupted quickly. "She didn't do anything wrong. In fact, I want to help her." She explained everything, about enrolling Amaka in a local school, about uniforms, books, shoes, and meals, about transportation, about covering everything. The woman stared, stunned. Then without warning, she sank to her knees. "God bless you, Ma. I don't know who you are, but—" Joy lifted her gently. "I was once like your daughter," she said, voice quiet. "And someone helped me. I'm just passing it on." 2 days later, Amaka stood nervously in front of a mirror inside Joyful Bites' storeroom, wearing a brand new uniform. Her hair was neatly plaited. A purple backpack hung on her shoulders. "You look beautiful," Mama Nwoke said warmly, adjusting her collar. Amaka beamed. Joy walked in holding a lunchbox and a file of enrollment papers. "Are you ready for your first day?" The girl nodded, clenching the lunchbox tightly. Joy knelt beside her. "This is just the beginning, Amaka. You don't owe me anything. But I want you to promise me one thing." "What, Ma?" "Promise me you'll never let anyone make you feel like you don't belong. You deserve to be in that school just like every other child." Amaka nodded. "I promise." Joy hugged her, fighting back tears. That day, as the driver pulled away with Amaka in the back seat, Joy stood at the entrance of her restaurant, arms crossed. She had once been the girl watching others through glass windows, too poor to step inside. Now she was opening doors, one child at a time. From the street, the Sani duplex looked like the cover of an architecture magazine. White render gleaming, glass balustrades mirroring palm fronds. 2 German SUVs resting in tandem like obedient guard dogs. But if the walls could speak, they would cough dust. Femi Sani lounged in the downstairs living room, feet on the tufted ottoman, eyes locked on his phone. Sports betting notifications chimed every few minutes. Tiny electric highs that made him forget the smear of half-dried red stew on his singlet. The 70-inch television replayed last night's Premier League highlights, but Femi wasn't watching. He was calculating odds, chasing losses. Behind him, a polished hallway displayed Agnes's framed MBA certificate and her regional vice president of finance plaque. The mahogany frames glowed under recessed lights, trophies she'd earned with 14-hour workdays, while Femi's own resume had long since crumbled into vague talk of online logistics. Just past noon, the new maid Rose patted in, holding a feather duster. At 19, she was small-boned, her neat Ankara apron cinched tight around a waist that had begun to thicken in recent weeks, though only she knew why. Her smile was automatic, her eyes were not. Femi's gaze tracked her reflection in the TV glass. "Rose," he said, without looking away from his phone, "the study AC is making noise again. Come check it after you finish here." She nodded too quickly and dusted faster. Every syllable from him felt like a tether fastened around her throat. 2 months earlier, she'd arrived desperate for work. His attention had seemed flattering at first, then inescapable, then terrifying. Now she measured her days in evasions: how to clean silently, how to time the distance between them, how to avoid the word no that could cost her salary and the drugs for her younger brother's asthma back in Benin. The wife who paid every bill. Upstairs, Agnes stood at her dressing mirror, pinning a name tag to her emerald maternity blouse. She was barely into her second trimester, just enough swell to unbalance her heels by day's end, but she still left home before sunrise and returned after dark. She glanced at her reflection, sighed, and smoothed a hand over her abdomen. "We're stable now," she told herself. Femi had convinced her last year that Joy's story was blackmail, a desperate maid protecting her own flirtations. Agnes hated thinking ill of a pregnant woman, but gratitude still tingled in her whenever she remembered kicking Joy out, slamming the gate on chaos. The matter was closed. Life was quiet again. She did not know that in her own house, another silence, a thick, poisonous kind, was gathering on the stairs below. "Madam," Rose called softly from the landing. "I'm going to market after I finish upstairs." "Fine," Agnes answered, adjusting her earrings. "Be quick before the rain." Rose stepped back, hand over her stomach, and exhaled. San at siesta. By 2 p.m., the estate lay in sleepy heat. Generators droned like lazy wasps. Agnes's Toyota reversed out of the driveway, headed to a client lunch. Femi watched the gate close, then tossed his phone aside and sauntered upstairs. He rapped on Rose's bedroom door once and entered without waiting. The curtains were half drawn, dust motes spinning in a shaft of light. Rose stood beside her open wardrobe. The way she hugged a folded wrapper to her chest made her look athletic, ready to bolt. "Lock the door," Femi said. "Sir, I have to—" "Lock it!" She obeyed, fingers trembling around the key. He stepped closer, cologne and lager intermingling with her lavender talcum. "Why have you been hiding?" he murmured, palming her waist. "I'm not hiding." His hand slid lower. Rose flinched, then squeezed her eyes shut, seeing behind her lids the faint blue line on last week's pregnancy test. The nurse's whisper. "You're 8 weeks gone." "Sir," she choked, "I need to tell—" A loud clang sounded from the gate outside. Both froze. Footsteps? No, just the neighbor's gardener moving bins. Femi exhaled, annoyed. "You're too jumpy," he muttered, tugging her closer. A cracked frame, 2 floors below, Mama Nkechi, the elderly cook, stood at the kitchen island chopping ugu. She had turned the radio low so she could hear the ceiling. She'd learned to detect patterns. Rose's hurried footsteps, Femi's measured ones, the hush that followed. She muttered a psalm under her breath and wiped her knife. When Rose emerged an hour later, eyes red, blouse buttoned wrong, Mama Nkechi blocked the doorway with her wide frame. "I know blind," she said quietly in pidgin. "What he dey do you?" Rose began to cry. "Please, I can't lose this job." "You go lose more than job if Madam catch you," Mama warned. "Talk. Tell him make he stop." Rose shook her head violently. "He said if I speak, he'll say I seduced him, like he said about the other maid." The older woman's jaw tightened. Joy, she remembered. The gentle girl thrown out like trash, now a headline success. Prophetically, Mama muttered, "Truth day travels slow, but he still reach market." She wiped Rose's tears with a corner of her wrapper, then pressed a rosary into the girl's palm. "Hold this. Pray courage. One day light go enter this darkness, whether we ready or not." Termites behind wallpaper. That night, Agnes returned, exhausted, ankles swollen. She kissed Femi's cheek. He smelled freshly showered, innocent. They chatted about baby names while watching a sitcom, laughter cued by studio applause, not by joy. Above them, Rose lay awake, palms on her belly, whispering to the life fluttering inside. Downstairs, the MBA plaque gleamed, but a hairline crack had formed in the glass. No one noticed. Sin, like termites, kept chewing. It was only a matter of time before the whole facade groaned and split. Friday twilight drops over Sorolare like indigo silk. Fairy lights blink to life around the patio of joyful bites, looping through jasmine vines that have crept up the bamboo trellis. Most evenings the cafe bustles. Tonight a pre-rain hush settles, as if the sky itself wants to listen. Through the side gate slips Chiki Odanaka. Baseball cap, low, plain t-shirt, no security detail. Lagos would riot for a selfie if it realized the president's only son was here. But Chiki has perfected the art of invisibility. Walk like you belong, tip like a king, speak like a neighbor. He orders a bottle of chilled Zobo, then chooses the corner table beside the small fire bowl Joy keeps for ambiance. Flames crackle, reflecting ruby in the dark hibiscus tea. Across the patio, Joy Nwoke laughs with her staff, hands floured from rolling yam croquettes. She catches a glimpse of the quiet customer in the cap and signals. One moment. Chike's pulse skips. Every week for 3 months, he has repeated this ritual, certain she has no idea who he really is or what he really feels. Joy wipes her palms on a towel and glides over, confident until she is 3 steps away. Then certainty falters. His eyes radiate an attention that feels larger than friendship. Your usual, sir. She sets the glass down. Chike removes the cup so their eyes meet without shadow. Thank you, Joy. You look at peace tonight. The word peace hits harder than any compliment about her cooking. Peace was the one dream she deemed impossible while sleeping on a pavement a year ago. Her breath catches. Warmth surges up her neck. I try, she manages, then excuses herself and flees toward the kitchen, heart battering her ribs like wild drums at a village festival. Inside the cramped office, she presses both palms to her sternum. Why does one sentence feel like thunder? Memories answer, marble floors, locked gates, Femi's threats. A warning voice hisses, men desire then destroy. Another, softer, argues, not every sunrise burns you. She closes her eyes, fighting the instinct to retreat from anything that resembles romance. Back outside, Chiki sips the tart hibiscus drink, letting its coolness tame the fire rising in his chest. He tells himself to be patient. He once rescued her dignity. Now he wants to guard her joy, but only when she's ready. Before leaving, he tucks 2 crisp notes in the tip jar and writes one line on the receipt. Continue shining. The world needs your light. Joy finds it after closing time. The handwriting is unfamiliar, but the sentiment rings delicately in her ears long after the kitchen lights click off. Healing hearts tremble when love knocks, because they remember doors that once wounded them. 3 weeks pass. A major network invites Joy to its flagship talk show, Morning Vista, for a segment on ordinary Nigerians changing lives. Studio floodlights glare like small suns. The makeup artist dabs powder over the tiny scar on Joy's forehead, a souvenir from sleeping under a shop shutter. In the green room, Mama Nwoke squeezes her daughter's hands. Speak truth, but no bitterness, she advises. Joy nods, praying the right words will come. The host, Ada Nwosu, opens with pleasantries, then pivots. Joy viewers know the triumph. They don't know the valley. Tell Nigeria, what was the hardest moment of your life? Spotlights fade from friendly to forensic. Joy's pulse thunders in her ears. Off camera, she sees Chiki standing beside Mama, arms folded, eyes encouraging. She inhales. I was a maid, she begins, voice steadying with each syllable. My employer tried to force himself on me. When I refused, he accused me of seducing him. I was thrown out that night with nothing. I slept under a shop front, but God sent help, a stranger who believed me when I had no proof and no voice. The studio falls silent. Even the camera crane seems to hover closer. Joy continues, describing the hunger, the fear, and the turning point when compassion found her by a busy highway. Millions watch, among them Agnes Sani, sitting in her bank's cafeteria. A spoonful of jollof halfway to her mouth freezes. She recognizes the cadence, the timeline, the unspoken names. The staff TV angles to a close-up of Joy's face. Sincerity unpolished, tears brimming but unshed. Agnes's chest tightens. Doubt pricks through her long-nurtured certainty that Joy lied. She leaves her lunch untouched. In the Sani living room, Femi snorts at the screen, remote poised. Publicity stunt, he scoffs to Rose, who stands in the doorway clutching a laundry basket. Her knuckles whiten. She knows firsthand how real Joy's story is, because the same hands now reach for her at night. But she says nothing as Femi flicks channels. Back in the studio, Ada leans forward. If you could speak to that employer now, what would you say? Joy exhales slowly. I would say truth is patient. It will surface one day, maybe in a boardroom, maybe on national TV. And when it does, I pray you find the courage to change. The audience erupts in applause. Joy's shoulders sag with a mixture of relief and exhaustion. In the wings, Chick's admiration deepens into something weightier. Mama Nwoke wipes a tear and whispers, "Your voice is your victory." Across Lagos, echoes ripple, in lunchrooms, buses, and parlors. Some dismiss them, others, like Agnes, cannot shake them off. The words cling like wet cloth, refusing to dry. Night fell gently over Ikoyi, laying its velvet shawl across rooftops and quiet streets. The city's usual roar softened to murmurs as crickets began their chorus. At the heart of a quiet compound hidden behind tall white walls, lanterns swayed softly in the garden breeze, casting warm halos over flowering hibiscus bushes and trimmed hedges. Joy walked beside Chicky, arms folded nervously under the sleeves of her shawl. She wasn't sure why he had asked her to come tonight. He had simply called and said, "Come, I want to show you something." The garden path glistened from a recent drizzle. Every petal, every leaf, seemed dusted with gold beneath the hanging lights. "Do you come out here often?" she asked softly. Chike smiled. "Only when I want to breathe." They turned a corner and reached the koi pond, circular, serene, with lily pads gently rocking under the breeze. Orange and white fish moved slowly beneath the water's glassy surface, like living strokes of a painter's brush. Joy gazed into the pond and saw her reflection alongside his. She blinked. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "You are," Chike said, voice low. Joy turned sharply, startled by the intimacy in his tone. Chike took a breath. "Joy, do you remember that day on the expressway? You were on the ground, holding your bag like it was the last thing tying you to the world. I had no idea who you were. I just knew I had to stop." Joy looked away. "I remember. I thought I was saving you," he continued, "but it turns out you were saving Moan." Joy met his eyes, confused. "I've been in boardrooms, conferences, presidential halls, but you," his voice cracked, "you taught me something none of those places could. How to survive with grace. You turned pain into purpose, ashes into bread, and suffering into service." She swallowed, overwhelmed. "I gave you a seed, Joy, but you planted orchards." He reached into his pocket, slowly, carefully, then knelt on one knee beside the koi pond. The lanterns above flickered slightly, as if holding their breath. Joy gasped. "Chick!" He opened a small black velvet box. Inside sat a diamond ring, simple but radiant. The stone caught a lantern's glow and broke it into sparks. "I love you, Joy Nwoke," he said, his voice steady but thick with emotion. "Not because of what you've served, but because of who you've become. Will you marry me?" Joy couldn't move. Every voice embodied her roared. "You're just a girl they once dragged out of a house like a thief. You're not good enough. You don't belong in his world." But then came a whisper, so small yet so certain. "The wilderness is over, daughter. You are worthy of joy." Tears slipped down her cheeks. "Yes," she said, nodding slowly. Then louder, choking, trembling, radiant. "Yes, yes." From the veranda, Madame Ia, who had been watching in silence with both hands clasped to her chest, let out a squeal and began clapping, then dancing, then shouting. She ran inside, nearly knocking over a tray, yelling, "Mama Nwoke, come and hear something sweet." Somewhere inside the house, Mama Nwoke's voice rang back. "Ah, hallelujah! My God has done it." Joy laughed through her tears as Chicky stood and slipped the ring onto her finger. Their hands trembled, but the connection was steady, warm, certain. Around them, the garden seemed to hold its breath. The koi in the pond circled slowly, like witnesses to a sacred moment. And above, the hibiscus lanterns swayed gently, casting their golden light on a love born not out of perfection, but healing. In that moment, the girl who once begged for a second chance was no longer the beggar. She was the answer. The sun over Ikeja was a white-hot coin when Agnes Sani barked at her chauffeur to swing back home. A client had just texted, "Signature page missing." 10 minutes, she assured her colleagues. She didn't plan to stay. Inside the duplex, air conditioning murmured like a sedated beast. Everything else lay in midday hush. Agnes's kitten heels clicked down the hallway of family portraits, her MBA, her vice president plaque, her wedding photo with Femi framed in ivory. She glanced at the picture, then at the slight rise below her emerald blouse. A fragile smile touched her lips. The baby had kicked for the first time that morning. Upstairs, a muffled argument pricked her ears. She frowned. The children were at school. The cook had Fridays off. She followed the sound to the master bedroom and nudged the door. What she saw welded her to the threshold. Femi loomed over Rose, their 19-year-old maid. Rose's eyes were swollen. Both hands clutched a laboratory envelope to her chest. "I said abort it," Femi hissed. "I can't," Rose cried, tears cutting channels through foundation she had worn to hide exhaustion. "It's my child." Agnes's pulse cannoned in her veins. "What child?" Femi spun, face blanched. Rose staggered back, horror widening her pupils. A silence loud as thunder. Agnes stepped closer, each footfall deliberate, heels tapping over porcelain tiles like a judge's gavel. "Rose," she whispered, "give me the paper." Rose's fingers shook as she passed the crumpled envelope. Agnes flattened it against her palm. One bold line glared back. "Pregnant, 9 weeks, partner. Name, if provided, Mr. Femi D. Sani." Her vision blurred. Reflexively, she pressed a hand to her own belly, barely 12 weeks along. 2 heartbeats, 2 mothers, 1 man. Femi tried a crooked smile. "Agnes, it's not what—" "Not what?" Her voice sounded foreign, scraped across gravel. "You told me Joy seduced you. You swore you would never touch another maid." Rose sniffled, whispering, "Madam, I'm sorry. He said if I refuse, he'll send me away like Joy." Femi's mask cracked. "Shut up! You wanted comfort. I gave it—" Agnes flinched as if slapped. Memories surged, the night she called Joy a liar, the gate slamming, Joy's suitcase skidding across asphalt. Compassion twisted into nausea. A vein pulsed in her temple. "Pack your things," she told Rose softly. "You leave tonight." Rose's knees buckled. "Madam, where will I go? Anywhere but here." Agnes's tone was ice, but her eyes brimmed. Femi lunged. "I won't have scandal. Rose will abort. We'll pay her off." Agnes's gaze speared him. "You'll do nothing. Guards!" 2 uniformed men hurried up. They took in the tableau, Rose sobbing, Agnes trembling, Femi livid, and waited. "Escort Mr. Sani to a hotel," Agnes ordered quietly. "Give Miss Rose an hour to pack, then find her a cab and 2 months' salary. Any media here gets no comment until I instruct." Femi barked, "You can't throw me out of my own house." Agnes met him nose to nose. "The mortgage you boast about, I pay it. The cars, the staff, the school fees, I pay. And the child you just told her to erase?" She placed his palm against her small bump. "This one lives, with or without you." Femi's hand jerked away as if from flame. He burst into frantic pleas, love, confusion, drunken mistake. Agnes turned, pointing to the hall. The guards closed in. A neighbor's dog barked outside, sensing turmoil. Rose reached for Agnes's sleeve. "Madam, forgive me." Agnes's face softened. "You owed me nothing, child. Go pack, quickly." 30 minutes later, the iron gate screeched. Paparazzi from a gossip blog, likely tipped by a house staff whisper, snapped photos. Femi in rumpled slacks carrying a duffel. Rose shielding her face with a plastic bag. Flashbulbs lit like summer lightning. Femi swore. Rose wept. Guards ushered them into separate vehicles, engines growling into traffic. On the balcony, Agnes gripped the rail. Her world, marriage, status, carefully curated poise, felt like glass imploding in slow motion. She stepped inside, feet heavy. The marble staircase blurred through tears. She collapsed onto the middle step, head in hands. Memories stormed. Joy's face the night she screamed innocence. The TV interview 2 days ago. Eyes sincere, voice steady, truth undeniable. I would say, truth is patient. Joy's words returned like prophecy. "God," Agnes whispered, I'm sorry." Outside, reporters shouted questions. "Is it true the maid is pregnant?" "Madam Agnes, comment on your husband's infidelity." The noise throbbed at her skull. She rose on shaking legs and walked to the bedroom. Pictures of her and Femi on their honeymoon mocked from silver frames. She opened a suitcase, tossed in basics. 2 dresses, flat shoes, her prenatal vitamins. She pocketed the sonogram, the faint outline of tiny limbs, and kissed it. "We'll be okay," she murmured. Downstairs, she told the bewildered driver, Surulere, joyful bites. He blinked. Madam? Now. Traffic crawled. Each red light felt like judgment. Billboards whipped past. Luxury estates, baby formula ads, a movie poster warning karma is coming. Agnes hugged her bag, breathing shallow through bouts of nausea. She replayed every sign she'd ignored. Joy's trembling voice. Rose's sudden quietness. Femi's late-night showers. The lingering scent of unfamiliar perfume. How many warnings does God send before he rips the curtain himself, she wondered. Her phone buzzed. Femi, let's talk. Don't do anything foolish. She powered it off. Another call. HR from the bank, concerned about rumors. She silenced that too. Silence felt cleaner now. At the Surulere turnoff, the driver glanced in the mirror. Agnes's mascara had streaked, but her eyes were dry, wide, determined. Madam, are you sure? Agnes inhaled. Yes, I have someone to apologize to. Joyful bites in sight. The restaurant's neon sign glowed even under afternoon sun. A queue snaked outside, patrons fanning themselves with receipts. Agnes's heart pounded as the car halted. She stepped out, ignoring murmurs. Some recognized the bank VP from TV segments. None knew why she looked like a storm-battered tree. Inside, the aroma of jollof and suya greeted her like a memory of simpler days. Staff bustled. Agnes spotted Joy in the open kitchen, laughing with a trainee, unaware. For a moment, Agnes couldn't move. Then she slipped off her heels, too loud, too proud, and walked barefoot toward the counter. One sentence echoed louder than the crowd. Truth is patient. It will surface. Today, it had surfaced, and Agnes was finally ready to drown her pride to reach it. For 3 straight Miami, Joyful Bites was a hive of rumor. Customers whispered that a famous banker, pregnant, distraught, kept appearing at the door only to be turned away. Security, acting on strict instructions to protect Chef Joy's impossible schedule, remained firm. Madam, please. She's filming content right now. She's at supply meeting. Come back tomorrow. Yet Agnes Sani did come back. Tomorrow after tomorrow. Dawn. She stood beside bread hawkers waiting for leftover crusts. Dusk. She returned, stomach empty, ankles swollen from pregnancy, mascara washed away by tears and humidity. The lilac scarf she once paired with designer heels now concealed puffy eyes. From the pastry counter upstairs, Mama Nwoke observed. That woman in lilac, who is she? A cashier asked, stacking croissants. An echo of yesterday, Mama whispered, a tremor of prophecy in her voice. On the 5th attempt, Agnes found the rooftop herb garden unguarded. Rain-washed basil glistened in planter boxes. Lagos haze tinted the horizon bronze. Joy stood at the far rail, sampling pepper soup for a new menu. Steam rose from the ladle like incense. Agnes shuffled forward. Shoes off, pride off. She knelt, swollen knees pressing tiled floor. Rainwater soaked her scarf, but she barely noticed. Joy, her voice cracked. I wronged you. I fed my pride with your tears. She rested trembling hands on her belly. Please, my child must not learn cruelty from the woman who carries her. At the name child, memories knifed through Joy. The night guards dragged her into darkness. Femi's smirk, Agnes's stony verdict. Heat flooded her chest. Fingers clenched the ladle so hard broth sloshed. But then she truly saw the woman before her. Eyes ringed red, belly round, shoulders caving. A mirror of a former self, broken, begging for belief. Joy set the pot aside. I forgave you the day I chose vision over vengeance, she said quietly. She lifted Agnes by the elbows. Today, I speak it aloud so the wound can close on both sides. Tears blurred Agnes's view. Thank you, she whispered, voice raw. How can I repay? Live differently, Joy answered. That will be enough. Below, through glass skylights, staff witnessed history. Some cried openly, others clasped hands. Mama Nwoke whispered a scripture of release that floated on the breeze like freedom. 3 months later, Lagos woke to silver-foiled invitations flooding timelines. The Union of Joy N and Shiki O, Cathedral of Light, Victoria Island Reception, Echo Atlantic Grand Hall. Dress code, Hope White vloggers dubbed it Cinderella meets Silicon Prince. Critics called it a masterclass in soft power. To Joy and Chaik, it was simply the day their scars became crown jewels. Mourning in a side chapel, Madame Ia fussed over Chiki's coral bead cufflinks. Hold still, my son. The nation is watching. Military aides lingered by the door, metals gleaming. Behind carved oak, Mama Nwoke smoothed her daughter's veil. The satin shimmered with dawn-pink highlights. Your silent tears have watered nations, Nem, she said, stroking the fabric. Joy kissed the weathered hands that once twisted cassava leaves for survival. Processional organ pipes thundered as cathedral doors swung wide. Sunlight spilled across the aisle like liquid gold. Joy stepped forward, gown catching every beam. She looked like dew crystallized at sunrise. Halfway, she hesitated. To the left pew, Agnes, in a simple ivory dress, belly now prominent, hands folded in gratitude. To the right pew, Rose, also expectant, one hand on her abdomen, the other clutching a program. Their eyes met Joy's. She reached across the aisle, squeezed each hand. Redemption outshone the chandeliers overhead. The priest's voice echoed under vaulted ceilings. With this ring, Chike's voice broke, I vow to amplify your laughter and honor your tears. All of them, even the ones the world never sees. Joy slipped a band onto his finger. With this ring, I promise to season every season of our lives with faith, like salt that never loses its savor. Sealed with a kiss, applause erupted. Choir, congregation, even distant passers-by who'd pressed against cathedral gates just to hear. Then the reception evening draped Echo Atlantic in velvet skies. Fireworks arced over the lagoon, their reflections splitting the water into molten sapphire. Reporters hailed it Wedding of the Year, a fairy tale of forgiveness. Inside the grand hall, Madame Ia conducted the High Life band like a general of joy. Rose, hired by Joy to run the restaurant's daycare, twirled toddlers beneath floating dove balloons. Agnes, now volunteer coordinator at a women's shelter, stood at a booth handing out hotline cards, her humility louder than any speech. Mid-banquet, Joy tapped her glass. The hall quieted. I once begged outside gates like these, wondering if kindness still existed. She began, voice steady, microphone unnecessary. I am here tonight because someone chose compassion over convenience. My plea, let today teach us that one generous act can rewrite another person's entire map. If you have power, use it to lift. Thunderous applause rose. Some guests wiped tears. In a dingy motel across town, Femi watched the live broadcast. Warm gin in hand, he stared at Joy's radiant face, a mirror reflecting what might have been, what arrogance had burned. Past midnight, Chike and Joy slipped onto a balcony overlooking glitter-struck water. City lights flickered like candles at vigil for the past. Joy fingered the silver dove pendant resting on her silk bodice. We made it. Chike drew her close. Tomorrow we feed the world together. He meant more than meals. They had plans. Scholarships for girls like Amaka, microloans for single mothers, culinary schools for survivors of abuse. Below, Lagos hummed, a constellation of second chances. Moral of this story. Truth endures the fire. Deceit smolders in its own smoke. Grace, once given, ripples outward, turning wounds into wells for others. Love is not blind, it sees every scar and chooses to stay. I hope you enjoyed this story. Please share your thoughts and tell us what learned in the comment section. We would be very glad to read them. And guess what? There is another powerful educative story coming up in a few days. So please subscribe to this channel and turn on your notifications bell so you'll be the first to watch when we upload it. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to hit the like button and share with your family and friends. Thank you so much for watching. God bless you.